So welcome back to Wheels and Toys and the 718 Spyder. So today we're going to talk a little bit about why I actually decided to remove and sell my aftermarket exhaust. Some of you might have followed my episode of how to select the perfect exhaust for your car if you're having the 718 or the GT4 or even the GTS models that comes with the 4.0 liter flat 6 engine of the 718 models. I went through all the different options in those, and you should see them if you are interested in what back boxes you can go for, but also how to think of the over axle pipes that you really need to address if you want to get some more power and sound out of that platform. So I went back and forth trying to understand and decide what exhaust I was going for, and in the end I went for the Cargraphic X-pipe racing exhaust, which is mainly the back box, and that's the one I mounted, and I love the sound. And you should see that video as well. I'll link it up here and down below of course as well. But it sounded good, but it had that annoying drone that I addressed in that video, and in the end it just wasn't pleasurable enough to overcome. When you're really pushing these cars, it sounds great, but for those times in between, especially I think for the Spyder, when you just take it out for a nice drive, it ruins the rest of the experience of the car. And I tried to understand why, because the exhaust itself shouldn't really create that drone. It sits in between approximately just underneath 2000 RPMs and up to around 2500, which with these cars means every time you go on the freeway, you have that drone. So I talked to a couple of technicians, and every one of them just says that it's actually due to the GPF filters that's in the over axle pipes, together with a more free-flowing exhaust that just enhances that drone that already exists there from start, like from the factory. And having had that exhaust and then removed it and now running the car stock, I would say you can actually hear it even from the stock setup, even though it's much more muffled and much more toned. So I'm not sure, but also having driven the car now almost coming up to 1,000 or 10,000 kilometers, so 1,000 Swedish miles, the car sounds a lot more raw, a lot more punchy. I'm not sure if it's just that I have forgotten that beautiful sound of the 991.1, or if it's actually started to breathe a little bit better. But that's actually the reason why I decided to sell it, because if it would have been a GT4, I would have just pushed it a lot more than how I actually drive this car, which meant that most of the time you would actually enjoy that exhaust. While for this one, since it's like, I would say 30% pushing it and 70% just enjoying it as an open top car, it can't really destroy the rest of it, and my girlfriend wouldn't even come in the car anymore due to that just being overwhelming in the drone. But for that said, it's not the end. One of the other reasons that I actually sold it is due to the upcoming modifications. So we are going to do 2 or 3 actually essential modifications coming up. The first of them is having to do with the intake noise. So a lot of these cars actually have a lot of intake noise, and that's actually quite nice, at least I think so. The 718 is talked about having more intake noise than the 981 GT4s, which sounds amazing from the exhaust. But the GT4 RS has something that everyone are talking about, and that's the intake noise. So we are going to mount these open air filters from BMC. They are the same that actually develops the air filters for the GT3 RSs. So there are 2 of them. They're going in. Actually, you mount them in here, but of course they take all their air from the side intakes, and hopefully that will give us a little bit more of a roar sound, a little bit more intake noise, which is going to be great. And it's going to be needed because the second mod we're gonna do is actually addressing the over axle pipes and the GPF filters, and this is a big one. Of course, as I talked about in my earlier videos, that has to do with fiddling with the ECU, and that's something that's gonna ruin your warranty. but this car actually only has 10 more days on its warranty, and then, I mean, I don't have any more warranty to worry about to ruin since it's already then gone. So the GPF filters sit right here behind the wheels. You can still see them, and they ruin the sound, and the overaxle pipes are a little bit in route. So what we're gonna do is that we're gonna remove the GPF filters, and we're gonna install these beautiful titanium link pipes from Akrapovic. They are much bigger in diameter. They are, I mean, they weigh almost nothing. I would almost think the heat shield weighs more than the piping itself. So we're gonna lose some weight, but essentially there's no filter. It's much more freer flowing. So hopefully that's gonna remove that part of where it almost feels as when you're screaming, it's kind of like we're talking through this piece of foam, which we don't want. So the overaxle pipes are going to be addressed, but as I'm in Sweden, that also means I'm gonna get a check engine light unless we do something about that. So the third part in the modification that goes together with the link pipes are going to be a tune. So the car is going to get its air filters first. I'm gonna do a video about that, and then it's going down to a guy called Klaus, who works at Turbo Center, which is kind of fun name given that there's no turbos, but he's a really good guy and a really great guy in working on these Porsches, and he already has a base software to work from when we do this tune. Some people say when they have sort of dynoed the car that with these modifications and a tune, we're looking at somewhere around 460 horsepower and a little bit like 30 pound-feet of torque more, but that's just the upside. I would say I really would like that. Then I can outrun some friends in the GT4s on the tracks, but especially we're gonna address the noise or the sound. Now it's noise, hopefully then it's gonna be sound, but that's the reason. So I sold exhaust because, as I mentioned earlier, is the drone might be due to the GPF filters, and I was saying that I was most likely going to replace both and keep the back box and add overaxle pipes. But having done some research, that means that I can no longer visit a track with the Porsche Club of Sweden, or more or less any track in Sweden, due to the sort of sound regulations. So in a day when you can run almost anything, you can run in Sweden. I think it's 95 or even 103 decibels. This is going to be a lot more than that if I would have kept the cross-pipe racing exhaust and overaxle pipes on the car. So having to remove the back box, adding the link pipes will hopefully give me a cleaner sound and less of a drone. So to summarize a little bit of a shorter video today, the back box is back to stock, the exhaust from Cargraphic is sold to a new happy owner, and the overaxle pipes are gonna go on the car in a couple of weeks time. We'll make a video about that as well, but hopefully we'll remove that drone and we will get a lot cleaner sound from the car, a little bit more raspier, hopefully a little bit more as towards the 4-liter engines of the, I won't say the GT3 because we can't get there, but somewhere in that area, and a little bit more as the 981 GT4s that of course did not have those filters. So looking forward to that, and hopefully you'll join me on the trip. Until I see you next time, bye.